Good morning, students. Here we come up with the subsequent lecture of general embryology, in which we discuss the female organs of reproduction. So therefore, in the female organs of reproduction, we start with the ovaries, then fallopian tubes, then uterus and vagina. For that we need to draw one entire gross anatomical diagram of this. Therefore, we start with this diagram. Here we start with at this level we show the fundus. Please draw alongside with me so it will be easier. And here we connect this fundus with the fallopian tubes. Then we show the thickness, and here this will be the thickness. At this level we will show the entire lateral wall with the cervix. Here also we will show the lateral wall and the entire cervix. Deep inside we are going to show the lumen. So therefore, here deep inside we are going to show here, this will be the lumen, deep inside. So therefore, this is a very rough line diagram of the entire uterus, the fundus of the uterus, the two openings of the fallopian tube, the body of the uterus and the cervix. Now, considering that here this is the cervix, and therefore we have to start with the upper end of vagina. Now here, since space is left here, we draw the upper end of vagina which will pass below. And therefore now if we reduce this canal, if we just reduce the size of this canal, then it will be here, we will just reduce this size in this way, and at this level also we can show in this curved manner. So therefore, now since this portion here will resemble cervix, body, fundus of the uterus, from here upper end of vagina will start below. So therefore here from this level till downwards we have to show the vagina. Now we stretch this tube, we stretch it in this direction, and we need to show this tube. This is the fallopian tube here, and this fallopian tube we have to show that it will have fimbriated end. So this is how the fallopian tube will have the fimbriated end at one side, and therefore it will open through this fimbriated end in the peritoneal cavity. Similarly over here we need to show this tube will have fimbriated end, and also we are going to show, we connect this layer first and we show the inside of the tube. This is the inside of the tube which will open through this fimbriated end into the pelvic cavity on both the sides. So therefore this is the fallopian tube here. Now this fallopian tube we will then later on divide into the 4 segments. This is a very rough and very fast gross anatomical description of the female organs of reproduction. And now we draw the ovary. This is where we have to show the ovaries. Here I will write O, and these ovaries on both the sides, right and left side, these are the ovaries. Now we show one of the ligaments, lower pole of ovary, connecting it to the lateral part of the uterus, corn of the uterus. So this will be the ligament of the ovary. This will be the ligament of the ovary. Now our entire diagram is complete. This is the general description of the entire diagram. Now based on this diagram, we discuss the female organs of reproduction, in which we start with the ovaries first. Now, these ovaries, they are almond shaped. The size of the ovaries will be 3 cm in length by 2 cm in breadth by 1 cm in thickness. So 3 cm by 2 cm by 1 cm is the gross anatomy dimensions of the ovaries. All these points are very important. Supposing if I write these points on this side, are we able to view? Yes. So here dimensions will be 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1 cm. They are almond shaped. They are intraperitoneal organs. They are located within the peritoneal cavity ovaries. Now each ovary will have upper end and the lower end. See, all these points are brief points of discussion. These points are already discussed during the gross anatomy lecture of the ovary, but these points can also be utilized for various types of MCQs or various types of 1-mark question answer. Upper end of ovary. This is the upper end of the ovary. And this upper end of ovary will be connected with the connective tissue, suspensory ligament of the ovary, where it will be suspended from the peritoneum. So it is a type of the suspension. So upper end of ovary will be connected with suspensory ligament of ovary, upper end of ovary. This suspensory ligament of ovary will connect the upper end of the ovary with that of the peritoneum. Now lower end of the ovary. The lower end of the ovary is connected with ligament of ovary, and it will be connected to the lateral part of the angle of the uterus. So these are the two: upper end suspensory ligament of the ovary, lower end ligament of the ovary. Then similarly, the ovaries will have medial surface and lateral surface. The medial surface, please note down, it will be related with mesosalpinx. So this mesosalpinx is a fold of connective tissue between the lateral most end of the fallopian tube and the medial surface of the ovary. So medial surface of the ovary will be related with that of the mesosalpinx, and it will be separated from this mesosalpinx, from this portion of fallopian tube, by a bursa, which will be known as bursa ovarica. So medial surface of ovary is related with bursa ovarica. Lateral surface. The lateral surface of the ovary will be lodged in the lateral pelvic wall. So therefore, the lateral surface of the ovaries, they will be lodged in the lateral pelvic wall. And these are the medial and lateral surfaces of the ovary. Similarly, there will be anterior and posterior borders of the ovary. Now, anterior border of ovary, very sharp. The anterior border will be attached to posterior layer of the broad ligament, or posterior margin of broad ligament. So therefore, this is known as mesovarium. So it will be connected, the anterior border is connected with the posterior margin of broad ligament by mesovarium. And through this mesovarium, there will be transmission of various vessels into the hilum of the ovary. So the hilum of ovary is on the anterior border, which is connected to the posterior part of the broad ligament through mesovarium, through which various vessels will transmit. Then the posterior border, similarly the posterior border is convex and free. The posterior border will be convex and free. So these are the various relations of both the ovaries, right and left ovaries. Remember, they are situated in the lateral pelvic wall, the ovaries. And therefore, that situation will be known as, in the lateral pelvic wall, lateral surface will be known as the lateral ovarian fossa, because those are the places, lateral ovarian fossa, where the ovaries are located, where their lateral surface will come in relation with the lateral pelvic wall. These are the borders, anterior border and posterior border. Now, these ovaries, as I told you, they are intraperitoneal structures. So whenever the oocyte is released during ovulation, this oocyte is released in the peritoneal cavity. Please note down this important sentence. Oocyte is released from the ovary in the peritoneal cavity. Now we come to the very few points, important points about the microscopic structure of ovary. The microscopic structure of ovary, for example, if I write down here in a flow chart, microscopic structure of ovary, it consists of cortex and medulla. Now in the cortex, the lining, outer lining of the cortex will be germinal epithelium, and this germinal epithelium, it consists of cuboidal variety. So cuboidal variety of germinal epithelium which will cover the ovary. Deep to germinal epithelium, there will be stromal cells. These stroma is consisting of reticular fibers, and therefore this stroma consisting of reticular fibers will form another layer below the germinal epithelium which is called tunica albuginea. Please note down. Beneath that, in the cortex only, there will be presence of lots of ovarian follicles in various stages of reproduction. So in the various stages of reproduction, at various stages there are different stages of ovarian follicles. So there will be different stages of ovarian follicles. Along with ovarian follicles, there will be several atretic follicles also, several atretic follicles, degenerative follicles also, and also there may be presence of, in older age, there may be presence of the corpora albicantia or corpora albicantis. So various corpora albicans are also present, and also in the cortex you will find the presence of corpus luteum. These are the structures which are found in the cortex of the ovary. Please note down. Then we come to medulla. The medulla of the ovary contains what? Connective tissue and various blood vessels. So it will only contain connective tissue and blood vessels. So here, these are the important and brief points about the structure of ovary. Now we consider the second organ which is involved in the reproductive process, which is involved in the entire general embryology. So after ovaries, we start with the fallopian tubes, or they are called uterine tubes, uterine ducts. Now these fallopian tubes, for example, I will just rub it so I create some space here. Now these fallopian tubes will be 10 centimeter. Please note down the dimensions. 10 centimeter in length fallopian tube. So therefore fallopian tube, it will be around 10 centimeter, and the various segments of fallopian tube. These segments are very important. The entire fallopian tube, starting from medial to lateral side, if we can see here, from medial till lateral side, we divide it into, for example, if we focus here, this will be in the wall, so it is called intramural part, intramural segment of fallopian tube. Then comes the isthmus, narrow part. So this is isthmus, narrow part of the fallopian tube. Then comes the ampullary portion. Now this ampullary portion is the major portion, dilated segment of fallopian tube. And then comes the infundibular process. So this pelvic end, where it opens in the peritoneum, is called the infundibulum, where it has presence of various fimbria. Out of this fimbria, one of the fimbria will be long and it will embrace the ovary. Which portion of ovary it will embrace? The medial surface of ovary and its upper part. So that fimbria is called ovarian fimbria. So this fimbriated end is also called infundibular end. So therefore, intramural is the portion of the fallopian tube opening in the wall of the uterus. Next, lateral to it will be isthmus, which is the narrowest portion, which is the narrow portion of the fallopian tube. Beyond the isthmus will be ampullary part, dilated, most dilated segment of fallopian tube. It will be maximum, it will cover the maximum portion of the uterine tube. And then comes the infundibular portion, where it has various fimbria. through this infundibular process, we are able to see that this uterine tube will have pelvic opening. So this is the pelvic opening of the fallopian tube through the infundibulum. Next, in the structure of fallopian tube, always note down, there will be lining epithelium of ciliated columnar epithelium, in which the ciliary processes will help in the movements of ova and spermatozoa. So therefore, the lining epithelium of this fallopian tube will be ciliated columnar epithelium. And therefore, here, this is the importance of the fallopian tube, in which the fallopian tube, mainly you have to remember, are divided into 4 different segments as we have discussed. So after fallopian tube, now we come with the uterus. We come to the main organ, the uterus. And in the main organ, that is the uterus, if we consider this diagram, please come on this diagram if you are able to see here. Fundus of the uterus is the uppermost portion of the uterus, just above the opening of fallopian tubes. So above the opening of fallopian tubes, this portion is known as the fundus of the uterus. Body of the uterus is the portion of uterus which consists of the main segment. Beneath the body, there will be cervical portion, cervix of the uterus. Now this cervix of the uterus, the body will communicate with the cervix through internal os. So this level is known as internal os. And cervix will communicate deep below with the vagina through external os. So this portion here with very small handwriting I am able to write external os. So this is the external os, where cervix will communicate with the vagina. Now, here, we consider that, considering the structure of the entire uterus, first the dimensions. Dimensions are very important. The dimensions of the uterus will be around 7 centimeter or 7.5 centimeter multiplied by 5 centimeter multiplied by 2.5 centimeter. So please note down, the dimensions of the uterus will be non-pregnant or non-gravid uterus will be around 7 to 7.5 centimeter in length, then it will be 5 centimeter in breadth, and the thickness will be 2.5 centimeter. Please note down. Now, the entire uterus will have 3 layers, that is perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. So here, coming to the layers, the first layer outside to inside, perimetrium. The second layer will be myometrium, consisting of muscular layer, and third layer will be endometrium, that is the mucosal layer. We need to understand these 3 layers. Before we try and understand these 3 layers, let me brief you about the enlargement of uterus. During pregnancy, as the uterus enlarges, it will be because of both the factors. There will be increase in the size of muscle fibers, that will be the hypertrophy of the musculature, as well as there will be increase in the number of muscle fibers also, and that will be also known as the hyperplasia. So both these factors will lead to the increase in the pregnant stage of the uterus. Similarly, the uterus will increase in size because the normal size, the normal length is 7 to 7.5 centimeter. So during pregnancy, exactly at the 4th month of pregnancy, if I start from here, at the 4th month of pregnancy, the upper level of the uterus will be slightly above the symphysis pubis. So it will be slightly above symphysis pubis. At what period? 4th month. Now this is 1 mark question answer, it is often asked. Then we go above. Next, during 5th month of pregnant stage, the uterus will reach to the level midway between pubic symphysis and umbilicus. So it will reach between pubic symphysis and umbilicus, midway between pubic symphysis and umbilicus. Then coming to 6th month, at 6th month of pregnant stage, the uterus will reach the umbilicus. Please note down. Why we are discussing? Because these are asked as MCQs. So at 6th month of pregnancy, the uterus will reach at the level of umbilicus. 7th month, please note down, 7th month it will reach midway between umbilicus and xiphisternum. So midway between umbilicus and xiphisternum at 7th month. 8th month, at 8th month it will reach the xiphisternum. Remember, the fundus is going to reach the xiphisternum at 8th month. 9th month, now at 9th month, the height will decrease. It will come below the xiphisternum. So at 9th month it will come, the fundus will come below the level of xiphisternum. So this box, if you remember, it will help you in clearing the various types of MCQs or short 1 mark question answer. Now, considering the entire uterus, first if we consider the cervix, this cervix is communicating with the body of the uterus through internal os, it will communicate below with the vagina through external os, and in cervix, what are the important points? The important points in cervix are anterior and posterior walls of the cervix will have the mucus ridges. So the anterior and posterior wall of the cervix will have the mucus ridges, and from these mucus ridges there will be various projections of laterally, various projections of the mucosal ridges as well. And therefore, this projection of various mucosal ridges from anterior and posterior mucosal ridges will give the shape of branching pattern of a tree, and therefore it is known as arbor uteri. It is known as arbor vitae uteri. This is known as, here I will write down, arbor vitae uteri. If you are asked in 1 mark question answer, what is arbor vitae uteri? They are nothing but the branching pattern of the trees which are seen in the various mucosal ridges within the cervix, going in the direction of the lateral direction, from below upwards laterally, and they resemble branching pattern of the trees, and therefore they are called arbor vitae uteri. Now, this cervix will have various glands, and these mucus glands, they will secrete the secretions which will keep the vagina moist. So cervix is loaded with so many glands, and through these cervical glands there will be secretions which will keep the vagina moist. Please note down this important point. Now we come to the, if we come on this side, we come to perimetrium, myometrium and endometrium. Now, perimetrium of the uterus, the entire uterus, if you see in histological section, it consists of outer wall, middle wall, inner wall. Outer wall is perimetrium, where this perimetrium is connected with the outer peritoneum. So fold of peritoneum, the tissue layer of peritoneum will cover the entire uterus and form peritoneum, except laterally, where laterally, both the lateral margins of uterus, right and left side, it will be connected with broad ligament. Otherwise, the entire surface of the uterus is covered with perimetrium. It is nothing but a connective tissue layer which is derived from peritoneum. So this is perimetrium. Now, if you go inside the perimetrium, we come to myometrium. Now this myometrium, the muscle layers, they are very interesting. They are also very important. These muscle layers, now if I create some space over here, these muscle layers, they are divided into outer longitudinal, middle circular and inner reticular layer. Outer longitudinal layer, sometimes these are the questions in 1 mark question answers. So outer longitudinal layer, it will help in pushing the process of at the time of delivery, at the time of parturition. So it will help in expulsion of the fetus during parturition process, longitudinal layer. It will help in the expulsion of the fetus during the normal process of delivery, longitudinal muscle layer. Circular muscle layer, it will help in retaining the entire fetus till the time of the maturity of the pregnancy. So during the 9 months of pregnancy period, this circular layer will help in retaining the fetus. What about reticular layer? The reticular layer, which is the innermost layer of the myometrium, this reticular layer, it consists of majority of the blood vessels, and therefore it is known as stratum vasculare. So it will be known as stratum vasculare because it contains majority of the blood vessels. And also this reticular layer will be known as living ligature of the uterus. Why it is called living ligature of the uterus? Because it will help in preventing excess of hemorrhage during menstruation, and at the same time it will help in preventing the bleeding, or it will help in stoppage of the bleeding after the normal process of the parturition, after the separation of the afterbirths, that is the placenta. So because of these two reasons, the reticular layer is known as living ligature of the uterus. So here we finish the myometrium, its importance. Now we come to endometrium. Endometrium, now the endometrial, the mucosal pattern, the mucosal lining, here this is often asked in MCQ. The endometrial lining, the mucosal lining, the mucosal pattern of the uterus consists of ciliated columnar epithelium till the age of puberty only. Ciliated columnar epithelium. After puberty it will become simple columnar epithelium. So please note down, after puberty it will be simple columnar epithelium. Next important point will be beneath the mucosa, beneath this epithelial lining, there will be presence of stroma. And this stroma contains the connective tissue, and along with that it will contain simple tubular glands. These simple tubular glands here, simple tubular glands, they are known as uterine glands. So lot of uterine glands you are able to see within the stroma, beneath the mucosa. So that means within the lamina propria we are able to see the uterine glands. And these uterine glands, they are in the form of simple tubular glands. Now the last segment is in the stroma, in the endometrium. We divide the entire endometrium into two layers, stratum basal and stratum functionalis. So therefore the two layers will be, for example, if I write here stratum basal layer, which is the lowermost layer, and this lowermost layer in endometrium, lowermost, is stratum basal, where it will be not shed. It will not shed, it will not destroy during the process of menstruation, it will remain. And this stratum basal layer will be supplied by the straight arteries. And also this stratum basal layer will help in the process of repair. In the process of repair, regrowth and regeneration after menstruation, after each and every menstruation in the menstrual cycle. This is the importance of stratum basal, and it consists of the basalmost part of uterine glands. Supposing the uterine glands are there, its basalmost part of uterine gland, it is called stratum basal layer. Next layer is stratum functionale or stratum functional layer. This will be above the stratum basal. This stratum functional layer will be supplied by coiled uterine arteries, and this stratum functional layer will be shed. It will be shed off, or it will be destroyed during each and every process of menstruation. Whenever the bleeding commences, at that time the stratum functional layer will be shed off. So therefore, these are the two layers, stratum basal, stratum functional layer of the endometrium. So here we finish the important points of the uterus. Now we come to vagina. Now in the vagina, if I write here the vagina, very simple. Vagina, you need to understand, it will have non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So vagina, first important point is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Please note down. Second important point will be this vagina will function as a copulatory organ. Third important point will be the vagina will surround, if you see in this diagram, it will surround the cervix in the form of cornices. So 4 fornices will be there. The vagina surrounds the cervix with the help of 4 fornices. So 4 fornices will surround the cervix. That is the uppermost part of vagina surrounding the cervix in the form of fornices. The posterior fornix, out of these 4, the posterior fornix will be the deepest one. So posterior fornix is deepest one. Now the walls of vagina, the posterior wall of vagina is lengthier or longer than the anterior wall. Anterior wall of vagina is 7.5 centimeter and posterior wall of vagina is around 9 centimeter in length. And similarly, there will be various cells of vagina during puberty. They will contain glycogen, and this glycogen will help in providing nutrition to the spermatozoa. And also, this glycogen will be converted into lactic acid by certain Dodderling's bacilli which are found within the mucosal lining of vagina. So this is the normal bacterial flora, that is glycogen converted into lactic acid, and this glycogen is converted into lactic acid by Dodderling's bacilli. Sometimes this is asked in one mark question answer. What are Dodderling's bacilli? D-O-D-E-R-L-E-I-N-S, Dodderling's bacilli. These Dodderling's bacilli are the normal bacterial flora of the epithelium of vagina. They are the normal bacterial flora of the epithelium of vagina, which will convert the glycogen into lactic acid. And therefore here we finish the female organs of reproduction. Thank you very much.